So we are doing a series on security, and today we are focusing on the end user and the end user workstations. We've touched on server, we've touched on network. Today we're going to go to the users themselves and see what security recommendations that we could be putting in place to improve on your security footprint. The scary statistic is that up to 40% of data breaches, data leakage, and malicious content coming into a network is that it's triggered primarily from the end user. The end user doing something they shouldn't have, doing things by mistake, and sometimes even intentional. So putting the right systems and procedures in place around your end user computers and making sure that they know what they're doing from a security perspective to make sure that your systems are secure is imperative. Workstations and computers need to be bound to Active Directory, to AD. So you need to have an Active Directory system in place first on a server side to be able to get your computers talking to AD. Essentially, AD is going to let you control and manage all of your workstations from one centralized location. User passwords need to be set to expire. There's no good reason why a user's passwords should be set to never expire. This is a huge security risk and a security concern. Implementing something like a 60 or a 90-day reset policy across your passwords is imperative. Along with password expiration is making sure that those passwords are complex. So putting in complex procedures on those passwords, that they have to be a certain character length, that they have to be both uppercase and lowercase, they have to contain a number, and they have to contain a special character. Look at setting a 5-minute lockout policy on a computer. So this is done generally via a screensaver that automatically locks the computer after 5 minutes, or that they have, a user has to put in their password to be able to get in. You don't want computers out on the floor to be open. Anybody can just go in, snoop. Removing staff as local administrators is something that is easily overlooked, but something that is very, very important. If a user is a local administrator, they have full access to their system. They can go and change registry settings, they can go and install any sort of software, including malicious software, unintentionally from the internet. As soon as a staff member leaves an organization and they're terminated, get their account disabled straight away. Not just their Active Directory account, but every account that they've got, disable it straight away. Implement regular security patching across all of the computers on your network. Companies such as Microsoft and Apple, they will release patches regularly, generally on a monthly by month basis, that are security fixes, patches for vulnerabilities that have been discovered on the operating systems and on the software. Look at encrypting the hard drives within your computers. Now, this is something that a lot of people overlook sometimes, but if a computer is lost or stolen, the hard drive inside the computer can still be opened up, can be taken out, plugged into a USB hard drive or a USB case, and plugged into a USB drive, and then they've got access to that full computer's hard drive. They can see the file structure, they can access the files and folders quite easily. Look at disabling the guest account on workstations. There's no good reason that this account is even enabled. Enabling this lets people just be able to go in and log into the computer and just poke around. Limit, control, or block USB drive access on USB ports on computers. This is something that can be overlooked quite easily, but it's important as well. You don't want people, guests, customers, contractors, anybody in your network to be able to go in and just plug in any device into a USB port. Doing that can introduce malicious software onto your computer, can also install software onto a computer to be able to scan the network and get information and steal data off a network. Look at limiting or controlling BYO devices. Bring your own devices. These are devices that staff can bring themselves from their home, whether it would be a laptop, another sort of computer. You don't know what's on those computers. You don't know what they could be introducing into your network. If they have some malicious software, if they have a virus on their computer, they plug into your network, it could spread throughout your whole network. There are systems in place to control that, to put good practices in place around device management of BYO devices. Put a good practice in place to not store business data on the end user computers. Have systems in place that they can store data on servers and work directly off a server, whether that be a personal home drive like an H drive or directly on other servers, on other shares, but don't store data locally on your computer. Get endpoint protection installed on every single computer. This is going to protect you from viruses, from spyware, any other sort of malicious software that may be installed onto a computer. Look at enforcing two-factor authentication across certain systems and certain services. So this is if somebody wants to access a particular system, they're prompted to use two different types of credentials to be able to access that computer. Sometimes using just one single password is not enough. If that password is compromised, then somebody has full access into this particular system. So you can put a second factor of authentication to be able to access the system. Look at retiring legacy end-of-life operating systems and software. This is software that no longer is supported. Vendors such as Microsoft and Apple, for example, will not release updates for software that is no longer supported, software that is now end of life and is legacy. Across all of your hardware and infrastructure, get some sort of a legal notice to be displayed on the screen before somebody logs in. They're prompted with a security warning that says, by using this system, you are agreeing to our acceptable use policy. Any breach of this will have XY consequences. Many security breaches are actually initiated from your staff themselves. Staff education is imperative. Whether this is staff trained internally, whether they're sent off-site, whether if it's communicated via emails or internal meetings, get your staff trained up and aware of security concerns out in the IT and out in the business industries. So that was our end user and workstation security recommendations. Next time, we are doing our final video on our security series, focusing on all the bits that we've missed out. We're going to be talking about email security, we're talking about hardware and infrastructure security, and also some final process and documentation that you should be putting in place to improve on your security footprint.